Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to Mark chapter 6, beginning at the 30th verse. The apostles gathered around Jesus and told him all that they had done and taught. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while." For many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat. And they went away in a boat to a deserted place by themselves. Now many saw them going and recognized them, and they hurried there on foot from all the towns, and arrived ahead of them. And as he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and had compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. When they had crossed over, they came to the land at Gennesaret, and moored the boat. When they had got out of the boat, people at once recognized them, and rushed about the whole region, and began to bring the sick on mats to wherever they heard he was. And wherever he went, into villages or cities or farms, they laid the sick in the marketplaces, and begged him that they might touch even the fringe of his cloak. And all who touched were healed. This is the gospel of the Lord. This is a recorded reflection from Father Richard Murray for the parish of St. George, Travancore. It replaces a sermon on this 8th Sunday after Pentecost. I am not going to preach a sermon this morning, but rather give you this short reflection. After all, if you've been to church today online, you will have heard a sermon, and I'm sure that it gave you plenty of food for thought. So I am offering just these few words in the hope that normal service will be resumed soon, and we can get back together in church to celebrate the Eucharist together, to hear the Scriptures, and to participate in the fullness of the liturgy, including a sermon, as God's people in Travancore. As I was contemplating the Gospel reading for this morning during the week, I had a feeling that Jesus was talking to our age, to our 21st century world in this time of pandemic. The first extract that was feeding this feeling is found in these words, very close to the beginning. He said to them, "Come away to a deserted place all by yourselves and rest a while, for many were coming and going, and they had no leisure even to eat." At first sight, this may appear to be inappropriate to our present condition, and not a great springboard for a useful reflection in this time of lockdown 5.0. After all, it is not really a problem of not being able to be alone that we face. It's more of a problem of being forced to be alone. It is not a problem either of many people coming and going. People are being told not to come and go. However, I think that we really do need, and we really do feel a need of escape from the ever-present pandemic and the threat that others can come to be seen as threatening. We need to be able to retreat from these feelings in much the same way as in our normal day-to-day lives. We need to retreat and take time just to be quiet and at peace. It's not about the sort of rest we can get from observing a Sabbath, or even taking the opportunity to go on a retreat in the traditional sense. But it is something less predictable, less able to be planned for in advance. Jesus, after all, was not talking about a regular pattern of life, but about a time for his followers that was out of the ordinary, that was, to use an overworked word these days, unprecedented. What I want to share with you this morning is my sense at this time that we need to look to the things that have served us well in the past and to seek to hold on to them as best we can, to seek to reflect on the stable things in our lives and to the important people in our lives, even if they're not physically near us at this time. Ironically, this is probably best achieved in reflection on our principles and our strongest beliefs, and on the ways in which we can continue to reflect them in these different times. For me, this is based on relationships with my family and those closest to me, relationships forged through shared activities such as working for justice, peace and reconciliation, music, and relationships with God in prayer, reading, contemplation and worship. By turning to these relationships I can see the peculiarities and challenges of this present time in a wider context, and by doing so help myself to reduce the challenge of the time to being part of what it is to be human, rather than allowing that challenge to define what it is to be human. I would like to pursue these thoughts further with you when we emerge from the current restrictions into a more normal and, as soon as possible, more vaccinated way of life. Until the first part of this comes about, may the Lord be with you.